Okay, guys, breaking news. Donald Trump has appointed Marco Rubio as his Secretary of State. And first thing you got to know is Rubio is a hawk, guys. Rubio is extremely hawkish, especially on the issues of Israel and Iran, for example, extremely supportive of Israel and hawkish against Iran, has called for targeting Iranian nuclear facilities in the past, very outspoken against the Iranian regime. Number two, and maybe even more importantly, he is extremely hawkish against China, and that is a key thing to note, guys, and it kind of signals how the Trump administration is going to handle the issue of China. As far as Russia-Ukraine goes, formerly Rubio was extremely supportive of Ukraine and Ukraine funding, actually rebutted Trump during his administration, kind of authoring, or he supported a bill that made it harder for the U.S. to withdraw from NATO if Trump had tried to do that, which required 2/3 of the Senate to ratify if the U.S. was to withdraw from NATO. Since then, he's kind of stabilized his position more in line with the Republican Party today and MAGA, which is, yeah, I support Ukraine, but this war needs to end quickly. So he's kind of in the middle on Ukraine now, but especially in the issues of China and the issues of Iran, extremely hawkish towards them. Now, first, let's talk about China. Now, on China specifically, he's been extremely outspoken on his social media accounts, talking about China, calls for sanctioning China, especially Chinese tech companies, for example, and extremely supportive of Taiwan as well, supporting a significant increase in funding to Taiwan, which, of course, is a massive dispute between the U.S. and China over the territorial integrity of Taiwan. Number two, and maybe more importantly, which is an interesting thing to note, guys, Marco Rubio wanted to ban TikTok. Marco Rubio, Trump's Secretary of State, wanted to ban TikTok, and he said this as recently as 2 years ago. Since then, he's probably stabilized his position and changed his position, but the fact that Trump's Secretary of State has wanted to ban TikTok for security purposes kind of tells you that maybe the Trump administration plans to ban TikTok, and that's something people got to be aware of. Secondly, on the issue of Ukraine, for example, guys, Rubio was a massive supporter of Ukrainian funding in the past, very outspoken against Vladimir Putin and the regime in Russia. But like I said, now he supports a settlement. Now he supports a settlement ending as soon as possible. Now, Trump has said he wants to finish that as his president-elect and get a deal done. Will that happen? We don't know. And what's especially interesting about that is Trump has actually said, it's been reported that Trump has told Putin not to escalate in Ukraine or he faces risk. Russia, or, he warned Putin that the U.S. has military installations all across Europe. So if that's true, who knows? But Trump threatened Putin that U.S. troops are all over the region in Europe. So that's something of note. Now, the issue of, and this is very important, guys, the issue of Iran, and maybe the key only because of in terms of the immediacy of it, as well as the major impacts. As I said, Rubio is a massive critic of the Iranian regime and a massive supporter of Israel, as he's actually criticized Trump in relatively recent, and one of the only things he criticized Trump of is his minor criticism of Benjamin Netanyahu post-October 7th. He actually said Trump didn't know, I think he said he didn't know what he was talking about on the issue, or he was misinformed. Totally supportive of the Israel and their war against Hamas and the Palestinian people. And to be frank, guys, this is not good news for the Iranian regime. This kind of infers and implies that the Trump administration is going to let Israel do what they want with Iran. We've seen escalatory rhetoric from Netanyahu in recent days, and it kind of signals that Trump's going to give the okay for Israel to target their nuclear facilities, especially with the appointment of Rubio. This is a game changer for the region. Rubio is not an isolationist, which is not what MAGA wants. So the fact that, and Rubio's a neocon, there's no question about it. Rubio is a neoconservative putting in that position. And it's interesting because this comes, guys, after it was reported that Trump would not be appointing Nikki Haley or Mike Pompeo, two prominent neoconservatives of his past administration, to this administration. Kind of, and it's signaled to MAGA and many of the isolationist base that, okay, we're not going to have neocons in this administration. But since then, guys, we've seen his national security advisor, Mike Waltz, extremely neoconservative and extremely supportive of Israel. His Secretary of State now, Marco Rubio, another neoconservative. And the person heading the State Department transition team, I forgot what his name was, guys, but basically, he was a neoconservative. He worked for Pompeo. He was his chief of staff. This guy is going to be heading the State Department transition team. So neoconservatives all over the place. So I'd love to see if, guys like Tucker Carlson actually make a statement, or are they going to criticize Trump, or they're just going to say, okay, we won, so I'm not going to say anything now. Hands up. We don't know. I don't know. But to me, the biggest thing to note, and probably for the administration, the key points: extremely hawkish against China, extremely hawkish on Iran, extremely hawkish in Latin America also, which may not sound that important to people, but it is, in terms of formalizing relations with a lot of these countries and the economic stability of the region in Latin America. And especially Cuba, guys, we should not have an embargo on Cuba. What are we doing there? It's ridiculous. We have relations with all countries in the world with dictatorships. The fact that we have a grudge against Cuba seems silly to me, especially in the year 2024. But that's what I got for you. Trump appoints Hawk Marco Rubio to Secretary of State. Interesting things going on, guys, with cabinet appointments so far, and we'll keep you updated, and we'll see what happens with him, as well as other prominent members like Tulsi Gabbard, Richard Grenell, who Trump was originally going to appoint Secretary of State, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I hope you guys like and subscribe to this video, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Thanks, guys. Trump appoints Rubio Secretary of State. Thank you.